G'day there, Aussie Stern here, country Victorian gamer, Star Wars Armada, Star Wars Legion, X-Wing, Dystopian Wars, Flames of War, Battletech and many other games. Today is part 3 of my Zann Continuum vessels. This one is going to be about painting. Now, there's a couple of steps that I can potentially do with Zann Continuum's vessels. One, I could paint them pretty much like I do with every other Star Wars vessel. Grey, white, brown, tan, whatever. Or I can go the full shebang and just paint it any colour that I want. Both options are appealing to me. Both options are quite good. Myself, I'm planning on going down the pathway of a brown colour like I have mentioned in a previous video. Now this brown colour is going to be a mixture of Rhinox hide, this one, which gives a really dark colour, but I don't want that super dark. So I'm going to lighten it ever so slightly with a little bit of this beige brown, to give it a bit more of a lighter colour. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Reikland Flesh Shadow as a wash over it to give it a little bit more brown depth colour in the crevices. I've already done a sample other than the actual likes of the Interceptor 4s. This is contextually the Crusader gunship, done up in brown already. The engine I've just painted white at the moment. From what I have seen, a lot of the coloration for the Mandalorians in some of the images that I've seen online are a purplish. So I'm going to try a little bit of this purple wash to just give it a ever so slight engine cowling colour. That's for the Mandalorian, so that's for both Crusader gunships, also the actual Keldab battle cruiser. The actual Kulamis cruiser, I'm doing it in a rather whiter colour, or ghost grey colour. And I'm going to do like some tiger stripes on it in that beige brown to give it a bit more of a pirate look, which will be very interesting because I'll have to do it very carefully and fine line it. The Vengeance, on the other hand, I'm going to have a little bit of a problem with. The vessels that we've seen in Empire of War are this grey colour already, sort of thing. The same thing with the generic aggressor starship, aggressor destroyer. I can leave them grey, shadowing, maybe put in a little bit of colour in different spots. Or I could do it in the brown. In some ways, I'm not sure which pathway I'm going to do. So I'm going to leave this one and the aggressor to the last and make a decision from there. But for now, here's a speed up video of the painting process. As you can see, I've made a final decision of painting the Vengeances in that brown colour, same as the Keldabi and the actual Crusader Corvette. Now, I've already pretty much done most of this. I've also gone ahead and painted the inside, left it grey, but then I've used a little bit of highlights to just bring it out a little bit more. I'm thinking of moving it a little bit more. I've also decided that I'm going to use the gunmetal to paint along the actual railguns. The engines I discovered were not of a purple colour. That was only for the merciless ones. Instead, it's this fluoro yellow, or a very light yellow. So thanks to YouTube for finding that out for me. And the result of that is that the engine looks quite nice with that rather bright. It's not as a really bright yellow like I have done for the Corellian Corvettes or any other ships that I have done so far, but it actually is quite nice. It doesn't take too much time to apply, as well as being it a very light colour. It means that if I accidentally put it over the brown colour, I don't necessarily actually muck up where it goes within the model itself. Now, I do apologise that I have put my hand in front of the camera quite a few times, but I also am going to use this little bit of white to do some of the more intricate window paneling on all the ships as well, the dead white, and I'm going to water it down ever so slightly so that when it goes on, I can easily wipe it off with a finger or a cotton bud just to remove that excess paint. The big difference between the computer game and the models that I have is in this back section where the engine lies. On some of them, the middle section has all of the engines with very little on the sides, on the wings. But on these models, it's actually opposite. All the engines are on the wings and nothing pretty much is in the center. Either way, it's still a great model to do. Of course, using that Reichland shade brown over the model, I need to do a fairly watery look so it goes into all the crevices. So using a shade brush helps, and very much going back constantly, re-wetting it. Even using a wet brush can help to have that washed flow through to where it needs to be. And as you can see, just by applying it, it does have that gloss look to it initially while it's still wet. And even when it dries, there will be a gloss effect to it. Therefore, once it gets fully painted, all the decals are put on, and etc., then what I need to do is actually go down the pathway of putting a varnish on it that actually removes that gloss effect, or a matte varnish to protect it all. At this point, I've now completed most of stage 1 of painting the base colours. I've now painted the weapon ports of the Vengeance cruisers in gunmetal, but I still have a couple of areas that I just need to touch up on the sides. These are mainly sections where I have either had to hold the model or it just didn't take the wash as completely as I would have liked. So going over it again, making sure that it does get into the recesses, making sure that when I'm laying the model down that the actual ink does not pool or move or travel to the one section is very important. Beyond this, now I need to start thinking about how am I going to tie this fleet together. Already we've got the basic color of that brown being synonymous through all of the ships that I'm using, not only the likes of my pirate ships, but also the Zann ships. I want to include this decal, as you can see on the side of my Keldabe battlecruiser. Now, how I made it was simply I just found the logo online, as you just saw. I then made sure that I got a brown background on it that matched close enough to the color, and then basically used decal paper to print it out. Taking into account that when I do apply it back on, I'm re-washing it over that particular area so that it blends seamlessly with the rest of the paint that I've already applied. Now, to take it on a whole different pathway, the Aggressor Star Destroyer I've decided to paint as the Merciless. This is Zann's flagship, and it's quite dark. It's all pretty much a Black Templar color. How am I going to apply this is simply just brushing it very lightly on, getting it into all the recesses. The actual Black Templar paint, contrast paint, is quite nice and wet, unlike the Abaddon Black. So it does seep into the cracks, as well as allow a little bit of that bleed through of the color of the grey underneath. I want to cover as much of the superstructure as possible with this Abaddon, this Black Templar contrast paint. So then I will be able to do much more of that finer work later on of doing the whites areas for the Merciless, as well as being able to do some more colors for the engine, as well as any glowing effects that I want to incorporate later on as well. Now, when I'm trying to do the white sides for this wing, what I'm going to have to do is very free-handedly just use the very edge of the superstructure to do just like a line. I'm trying to avoid the heavy area where that white's going to be, and then I'm going to use the same zone along the other edge to very carefully draw a outline of this black contrast paint, so then the dead white can go behind it to create that design that is on the Merciless. Once I put the white on, I'll then go back and do the rest of the inside section of the wing. But I can take care of some of the area where I know that there won't be any black, any of the white areas incorporated along the top part of the ship, around the engines, trying to be careful as to not get any of the grey in areas where they shouldn't be. So that's a completed side with the angles that I've made of using that dead white colour. In the front two sections, the front top section of both sides of the aggressor, you have this open area that requires a bit of a blue glow underneath, and I've used this light blue from Games Workshop. It's a layered blue. However, because I don't want it to totally overpower it, I've watered it down and used it much like a wash, and then dry brushed a bit more of that black Templar over the top of it to actually create the effect of the superstructure with the blue underneath. I also have on order some plasma glow, which should also help. The engines, I am leaving it this uniform grey, while the inside of the engine will be firstly white and then with a purple tone to give it that bright look, as we can see in some of the pictures. Now, as you can see, I have now completed a fleet for my Zann Consortium vessels. I have 2 Marauder corvettes there as well, the 2 Crusader gunships, some skip ray blast boats, Star Vipers, the Interceptor up the back, the Vengeances, the Keldarbe, and the Merciless. Now with bridge and the top gun being for a plasma, for an super heavy iron cannon, while the bottom is for a plasma cannon. You can see that I haven't done the decals for the Interceptors or the Marauders, because I thought that they would be pretty much good for both Pirate and also Zann Consortium. But I have put in, and if I can get the right light happening, I have put in the decals on all the main Zann vessels. Swinging around to give you a backside view of the Merciless, and you can see that I've just done a little bit of purple. Fully flushed it out. Nice blue in there. And the Star Vipers I've recently received and have painted them in a variety of colours for the squadrons. And there you have it. So the next step for this fleet, I still have some Fang fighters to get, pirate fighters. I have some Rashik assault boats and Kishk fighters still on their way, and I'll be painting them soon. I have also been experimenting with 3D printing my own flight stands to various successes and failures. Simply because I don't want to run out of my Games Workshop, the Fantasy Flight Games ones, and want to essentially be able to utilize them going forward in the future if someone else wants to take this fleet for a try at a competition. I still need to get the bases for the Keldarbe, the Vengeance, the Aggressor and the Crusader. Some of them will be probably, no doubt, released by Star Wars Legends team in the next month or so. Others I'll be waiting for a while. Plan for the Aggressor, I'll probably utilize the likes of the Onager base plate for it. The actual Vengeance, I'm thinking maybe I might use the Marauder or something similar. I'll just wait and see. But what you may want to know is what my next project is. Well, other than completing painting off the Quasar as Phoenix Nest, which is currently on my almost completion step. Still got a couple of bits to do. And this Karak Cruiser for the Empire. My next main project that I will be working on and doing a video on is this lot of Battletech. These will be my Lyran Battletech force. I'm not sure exactly what faction within the Lyran state they will be, whether they be a Donegal Guard or a Lyran Guard or Lyran Regulars. I still have to work that out. As you can see, I've got a 5 heavy lance with the Zeus, Atlas, Marauder 2, Devastator, and a Goliath, some mediums, and a lot of lights. Quite a lot of these came from the Mercenary Kickstarter, so I also have quite a lot of vehicles to go with them as well. And that's pretty much it for me for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed watching it till the end. Please like, please subscribe, leave a comment if you're interested. Take a look at any of my other videos if you're so inclined. And hopefully I will be able to give you more content in the coming weeks. But for now, from Aussie Stern, bye for now.